Namaste, my fellow life inquisitors, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Power Interpretation with Blue Yogi. So today I actually wanted to talk about how you know how we're connected as human beings, and then um, separate from us being human animals. And I know that sounds weird because that's not how we understand ourselves. But what do I mean by that, right? Um, so I'm going to dive right into this one, talking about the difference from how I've been picking up using, once again, power of interpretation, obviously. What's the difference between the conscious human and an animal, right? And I wanted to start off by saying, like, what's the difference to you listening or watching? What's the difference to you between something that is a conscious thing and a self-aware thing? All right, is there a difference? Do you see a difference? Because I believe I was thinking about this, and I wanted to talk about it because to me, one of these things can still have the understanding of a non-inclusive existence, aka remaining in survival mode, and then this other thing can remain in an inclusive understanding, aka um, you know be all inclusive despite what's going on. All right. um, I want to talk about this because I think in some later episodes I'm going to talk about how to remain outside of our ego, so to speak. I want to dive a little bit deeper in it, and I want to relate it to the cycles of life, so to speak. But without this understanding, I don't think that talk would do any justice. So, or that conversation would do any justice. So I want to talk about this. And I want to start off by looking up the definition of animal. And then I want to look up the definition of nature. Because to me, something that is self aware can still live in survival mode, aka the animal kingdom, right? The animals. Um, if the human is a conscious being and a piece and a piece of us is connected to everything, that human being that is conscious can remain in a state of all inclusiveness no matter what's going on. And I think it connects a little bit with yesterday's conversation about because you does knowing something mean it's the truth, right? Um, I don't think it does, and obviously with the conversation yesterday, if you heard it. So let's just dive into what an animal is, okay? An animal is a living organism that feeds on organic matter, typically having specialized senses, organs, and nervous systems, and able to respond rapidly to stimuli. And then the sentence under it says, wild animals adapt badly to a caged life. That's a funny sentence. I didn't even read that sentence beforehand. Um, Wild animals adapt badly to a caged life. Even that, right? An animal has a certain set of understandings within itself. And how I like to think about it, um, a bee only goes from point A to point B. A giraffe only goes from point A to point B. What do I mean by that? It knows what it needs to eat. It knows um, how to walk, how it walks, how it moves. Its only job is to survive, and all animals have heat, mating seasons, right? That's the only time that it worries about its body. Other than that, animals mostly look at animals as just It has a body. It doesn't matter if it's male or female up until mating season. Okay. So that's what an animal is. And then I wanted to look up the word nature, because if we speak about like human nature, and I guess I'll look up. Well, I have conscious on here as well, so we'll go to there next. But nature created everything, right? So we'll just say that. So it says, by definition, nature, the phenomena of the physical world collectively, including plants, animals, the landscape, and other features and products of the earth, as opposed to human or human creation. So humans create stuff, and we know what that is. So we create it out of nature. So all this stuff that we're seeing, that we use and touch and whatever, humans made that stuff, but it's still at its base a piece of nature. Nothing could be happening without this whole nature thing being in existence at all times, right? And let's just look up conscious and then awareness, and then I'll dive into the conversation, okay? So, conscious, aware of and responding to one's surrounding, and then right after it says awake. Having knowledge of something aware, painfully aware, sensitive to. So these are the different definitions. I'll go back to the first one. Aware of and responding to one's surrounding. And then it says awake. And then let's look up the word awareness. Knowledge or perception of a situation or fact. Knowledge or perception of a situation or fact. So all animals, I believe, is aware. That's my understanding, okay? And then when we talk about humans, we say humans are self-aware, right? Self-awareness is a conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. Now, how do I take that? I take that as being like, when we look into the animal kingdom, we don't see like lions plotting a mass takeover. We just see it going to its own, like its terrain, marking it. Once it's it's good, right? It's not going outside of that. I need to think about my feelings when I'm just sitting here. What motives do I have after I'm done eating? Do I have any desires that I need to, fulfill? After an animal fills its belly, it's pretty chill, okay? But the conscious, self-aware human, when we sit, when our bellies are filled, we go to, well, how can I please this sense organ? How can I please my taste? How can I please my mind? How can I please my activity? And I think this is very important to understand, because understanding that there is a difference between an inclusive being and a non-inclusive being. I think that could drive how we move forward differently, because once again, my point of this whole podcast is to start a conversation about how to use our perception to benefit us as a oneness entity. Because even in science today, and I'm going to play a little clip, and I hope you guys go check it out. I'll tell you the title of it. It's on YouTube. It's free. So I'll tell you the clip title. Please check it out. Watch it. Let me know what you guys think. I believe the main difference between the human animal and a human being, a human animal stays in the mode of fear, okay? Because if we understand that we're all inclusive beings, and there's not really a core difference of us, there's an outside layer difference of us, right? There's not a core difference of us. Where is fear coming from? And I just want to read the definition of fear. Fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous. So when we're looking at another human being, is that human being dangerous? No. But if we're looking at a human who is in a state of survival mode, once again, I say survival mode, that's something that is just aware. All right? The animal is just aware. So if you stomp in front of an animal, make a loud noise, it's going to freak out because it's like, what are you doing? But a human can be in the same situation and just look at it and be like, oh, that person's crazy. Let's just keep moving on. You know, oh, that person's just going through something. Let's keep moving on. So the difference there, okay? I hope this is making sense. So fear, an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief, all right, it's not even real, caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat, okay? So when we're just in a aware state, aka what I'm calling a human animal state, we're in the mode of fear. We're in survival mode, because we have a belief that someone or something is dangerous. And it's crazy how, like, I like this term FOMO, fear of missing out, right? FOMO. It's a real thing for us if we see. That's how marketing kind of works, right? I'm gonna show that the celebrity's doing this. You don't want to miss out. So it creates an unconscious fear. We just say, "Oh, I just kind of want that." Sometimes, if you're one of the ones who knows the difference, I'm not talking to you directly, then, right? But that's what FOMO is. It's a stimuli in our mind, our brain going. You know, it's going to be real dangerous to your status if you don't do this thing, right? So I'm being brief, quick, because I want to keep going and play this clip for you guys, but I hope this is making sense. If we're in a fearful state, we're in our human animal state. If we're in a compassion state, we're in our human being state, okay? And compassion is sympathetic pity and concern for the suffering or misfortunes of others, okay? That's more of an inclusive understanding of ourselves, right? Okay? I looked up compassion because I just felt like that was the opposite of fear in this case right now, all right? So fear is a belief that someone or something is going to be dangerous, hurt you, or cause a threat. Compassion is having sympathetic pity and concern for the suffering or misfortune of others. So going back to that example earlier, somebody jumps out and does something that we would call quote unquote crazy. That person might be suffering, or that person might have a misfortune somewhere. Otherwise, why would that person be doing that, right? So let's just think about it that way for the sake of the conversation, and chime in at any point. And I heard this really cool phrase, and it was talking about responsibility. So the human has the ability to respond, all right? Responsibility, right? So what is our ability to respond? What is responsibility? Responsibility is the state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or of having control over something. The ability to respond, okay? Every human has this ability to respond. And once again, going back to human animal, that one's gonna only respond off of the rapid response to a stimuli, okay? So a stimuli is happening in the animal. Once again, that's back to the definition of animal. We have our organs and our sense perceptions, and if we respond rapidly to a stimuli, that's not a conscious thing. It's just being responsive. It's just being, you're just being reactive. And what people call their ego, you're coming from that state, right? If you just respond, just survival mode, boom. Respond, fight, flight, freeze, right? But if you take the next definition, the state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something, right? So our ability to respond is being fully accountable for whatever we do consciously, okay? And I think it's very important to understand all of this. We have to, well, not have to, but I've learned that we use a lot of our logic right now in the age that we're in. And during this time, the humans use a lot of their logic instead of going inclusive and going like, okay, let's figure this out, right? So let's take this logically even. And let's hear a little bit of what Gregg Braden has to say, courtesy of Gaia.com. All right. So this is a YouTube video. It's titled, "You Need to Hear About This Astonishing Discovery," Gregg Braden. All right. Please look it up.
Within your body is a language, and here's the way that language works. And what we now know is that the DNA in our bodies, the elements that we call DNA, literally are linked to the letters of ancient alphabets in very precise ways. And when we make those translations, when the chemicals become the letters, lo and behold, the letters start to spell words, and the words start to spell sentences, and the sentences have meaning. And it appears that the message in our cells exists as many, many layers. And what we've done is crack the code for only the very first layer. It took 12 years to do it. It's a very brief message. And it literally translates, literally says to us, when we look at the DNA, the uppermost level of the DNA, the 4 DNA bases, the building blocks of all life, it literally says the words God eternal within the body. God eternal within the body. And the complexity of life, from a single yeast cell to the complexity of a human and everything in between, appears to be different combinations of these elements. So a scientist will say they're different combinations of carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and they're correct by virtue of our language today. The ancients didn't know about those words. They looked at it differently, and they said they're different combinations of the words God eternal within the body, and they're correct as well. 2 different ways of describing our world, very, very different periods of time.
Okay, so I just wanted to play that. So God eternal within the body, right? That is the literal language of the DNA strand that every thing in the universe has, right? And especially this planet, right? So we'll just talk about our planet. I won't go to the universe yet. So if that's the first layer, and then we have more layers of depth that we can go through scientifically, but like Greg pointed out, the ancient humans of our time, they went internally because they didn't have all these tools, and they knew this from those times. So I think it's very important to understand something like this, because if we begin how we began this era of human societies, we believe that we're so different just based off of our caste, color, creed, whatever, religions. And if we believe we're different just because of that, what about the similarity that's in all of us? And science also has already proven that the whole cosmos is made up of just energy and vibration. Energy and vibration, and that's it. So this body is nothing more than energy and vibration. And there's something deeper here that we are connected with. And as soon as we realize that, I think then more of us will be more encouraged to come from our human being self. We're not called human animal selves, because this evolved human that we are now, it can consciously be. Okay? And I wanted to start this conversation. I know I was kind of fast, and I went over a lot of definitions because I really don't know how to talk about this in a short time span. I would definitely need more. But I thought about that recently because I've noticed that no matter what happens to me and no matter what happens, just basically in my social situations, I find it easy for me to be able to forgive, and I just know it comes from that understanding that we are all one, we are all connected. And I truly believe if we realize that first and then take action, we will kill our survival mode that I believe a lot of us are in right now. And it is my wish and my blessing to see us get over that, because inclusiveness can start to happen. And when inclusiveness starts to happen, I believe we will see a better world. And I guess that's it for this conversation. Did I go over everything? I believe so. I have the definition of being up as well, because a human being, right? The first one says existence, and then the second definition says the nature or essence of a person. So just existence, human being. So what's the definition of human? Let's look that up really quick too. But existence, and it's the nature or essence of a person, right? And we're not here like every other animal that has a point A to point B. We're uniquely here, and existence is our only responsibility. And to not disturb each other or what nature has provided for us. And then human, it just says relating to or characteristics of people or human beings. And then the other definition, a human being, especially a person, as distinguished from an animal or an alien. Okay, so we're distinguished from the animal, right? So no human animals, human beings. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Please comment, subscribe, like, share. Let me know what you think. And I look forward to more of these conversations. Namaste and have a good day.